Alright, let's talk about yellow paint. Probably the most urgent issue facing the gaming industry right now. I don't know if you've seen this, but sometimes on a website, someone will post a picture of a game where there's some yellow paint in it, and that makes everyone go insane with hate. It's happened like 1,000 times before, and every time, I think, off the back of that, I've had a tweet that's done alright. So it's the sort of thing that I should be making content about. It's what you want, isn't it? Stupid fucking gamer opinions? Open up piggies, it's slop time. Sorry, just kidding. I'm grateful you're here. Don't forget to hit the bell. Now, I don't really mind about the yellow paint. I feel like I have bigger concerns. Death of art, ecological collapse, neoliberal stagnation, and I sort of feel like they're not really issues that are being addressed by the yellow paint, you know? But whatever, it's fine. It's what you want, it's fine. I'll just waste my talent doing this. We'll talk about yellow paint. It's just that I don't really mind either way about the yellow paint, so it's just going to be difficult for me to become pissed off enough. Do you remember when I made videos that were about something? So what happens is, there's a picture of yellow paint, and then someone goes, it's ruining games. And then someone goes, no, actually, here's an anecdote about how playtesting once proved that all gamers are stupid. And then a third person goes, games shouldn't have any visual indicators of what to do, and they should let you run outside of the map borders into an infinite world where you can go anywhere and do anything forever. Now, I think the reason for the yellow paint is immediately apparent to anyone who's tried to think about it for a second. It's just needed signposting, and especially as games have got more graphically realistic, you don't necessarily want to have glowing barrels anywhere, so you find a more subtle way of highlighting it while still sticking out at the player. Here's a thing that you can interact with. It's just sort of fitting while being obviously noticeable. That's the goal, but crucially, it's established language. It's like a dissolve in a movie implies the passage of time, or like the dodge roll is always mapped to the same button on the controller, and all games have a dodge roll, which is an insane, look, I don't think anyone in the history of the world has ever pulled off a dodge roll, but all games have it. And if they don't, they should. Or superhero movies used to have a bit at the end where a blue laser would shoot into the sky. They used to, until YouTubers pointed it out too much, so they've stopped doing that. And that fixed them, didn't it? Superhero movies are good now, thanks for that. The point is there's like conventions in art, and it's just a shorthand way of doing something. The yellow paint is just like one tool or one option. How dare they use it? Sorry, I forgot, I'm getting mad about the yellow paint. Already I'm giving too much context and nuance. All the gamers who clicked on this because they're pissed off about yellow paint, they're gone. They've left their angry comment, but they've clicked off the video. They've come at me for being a shill. I've had that before, the gamers coming at me for, you know, not towing the gamer line enough. I love that idea. Imagine the marketing meeting for that. What we need is a YouTube channel with 1,000 views to obliquely defend something. Anyway, sorry, I'll do better. I will get mad about the yellow paint, I promise. I've just gotta work up to it. I should be doing like more gaming opinion streamer type stuff. You know these guys, they're like trying to pitch their voice lower than its natural register? You know, like,
the yellow paint is ruining the immersion and the challenge and the player agency.
You know these guys? Actually, yeah, I do. I have an anecdote that would work for this. I have a gaming opinion streamer type anecdote. In the third Tomb Raider reboot game, what the fuck is that called? It's like they've named those in the wrong order. It's something like the third game's got the name of a second game, and whatever. In the second game in the series, Dawn of the Tomb Raider, it had these really like ridiculously overbearing hints and stuff, and yellow paint. So when the third game came around, they actually let you turn all of that stuff off in the options. So I went for it. I went full fucking gamer mode. I turned everything to the hardest, and I got to experience that increase in immersion and challenge and player agency. Suddenly, like, figuring out where I was supposed to go was a challenge that took time, and I got the immersive experience of rubbing up against walls that weren't climbable, and the player agency of getting to choose where to jump to my death. While I was looking for B-roll, I found this clip. This is the moment where I got stuck for 10 minutes, and so I turned the paint back on after this. All that happened was the traversal became slightly more tedious. Sorry, I've gone back to a reasonable position. I'm pissed off about it. I'm pissed off. I think all games should let you turn off the yellow paint, because the people who want that option should be punished for it. No, I'll get pissed off about the yellow paint, I promise. It's sort of like what happened last year with Jedi Survivor when that came out. It had these climbing segments, linear climbing segments that were just sort of glorified cutscenes. You held down a button, but if you stopped during one of those linear climbing segments and you were getting shot at, you couldn't get shot to death, which was a terrible mistake, and that ruined my immersion, I think. I think that's what immersion is. That's my understanding. Immersion is just when a game is annoying. Okay, look, we see this yellow paint climbing stuff in linear, retro, remake games. Corporately designed games, but with a very graphically impressive, naturalistic style. And naturalism is just sort of when a game looks like muddy dog shit. And I think the naturalism push hasn't come from any artistic desire. It's being pushed by the tech, and the tech is being pushed by speculative investment. All I'm saying is, if your game is more graphically intensive to run than Arkham Knight, it's not even a game anymore, it's just a scam to sell GPUs. It's all just trying to help Nvidia become a major player in the climate crisis, with their value built off of the extraction of conflict materials. It's a development built on blood. Anyway, what were we saying? Yellow paint. I'll get back to yellow paint. I'm so pissed off about it. Right now, games have a very busy, incoherent aesthetic, and then that clashes against the need to be like, here's the linear path. These pixels here are where you're supposed to go. And I think signposting itself, signposting in games is fine. Actually, everyone likes it. Everyone does want to know what they're supposed to do in a game. They just don't want to know that they're being told what to do. So the problem with yellow paint there is that it sort of fits with the world visually, but it doesn't make any sense to be there. So that's the problem with yellow paint, is that you notice it, which I don't care for your suspension of disbelief. It's probably self-evident that I don't care for your immersion or whatever. How many fourth wall breaks are we going to fit into this video? But I think you should just get over it. Noticing yellow paint. Everyone can notice things, and yellow paint is like noticing things amateur hour. You're supposed to notice it. That's why it's there, you know? What about the shoddy texture work, or the color palette broadly, or those UI markers? Were you noticing that stuff? No? What's wrong with you? Actually, I notice every aspect of a game, so I think they should get rid of it all. All games should be specifically aimed at me and my tastes, and I want everything destroyed now. Yellow paint can be bad, and I'm super mad about it, but I think the question is, are you playing the Resident Evil 4 remake for the thrill of finding out through trial and error which boxes are breakable, or a Final Fantasy VII remake for the dopamine hit of working out if a cliff can be climbed? And I think when you frame it like that, the solution's obvious, right? You should just stop playing remakes of Final Fantasy VII. Now, I love when a game has a sense of place and design, language and visual flow. That means that the signposting doesn't have to be this explicit. But you're not going to get that out of a AAA game right now. If you have like a AAA game all about fast narrative and combat, and then like maybe once every couple of hours you might climb a cliff, it needs to be a lot more obvious about that, right? Obviously. So you should just play a different game. Removing the signposting here isn't the solution. If I were to get mad about the yellow paint, I think my argument would be like, no more rigidly designed corporate games that have to include all superfluous bullshit that doesn't fit with the core design, that no one's particularly inspired or interested in doing. I'm not sure that why is there yellow paint on this ladder is the right question. It should be, why are there ladder climbing mechanics? You know, I think you trace it back, the yellow paint is coming from corporately mandated push for bloat. All games have to include all features. You know, could we add Fall Guys to this game? Yeah. What? No more scope creep driven by non-creatives who are driven by unsustainable investment, because that's going to fuck everything. As it currently is, these massive layoffs and closures happening right now aren't driven by any failure of games to be profitable. Games are insanely profitable. It's just investors moving on, moving out of entertainment media, moving on to AI. The same people who fucked all these games with the live service and bloat, with these mergers and acquisitions and the demand for more, bigger games forever. Sorry, am I drifting too far from yellow paint? I'm being unbelievably charitable, handing out a good argument like that. A throwaway rhetorical in my video is like the best that anyone else on here will ever come up with in their life. But I'll keep it to yellow paint. I'm sick of this. I'd like to tie it to some broader commentary, you know? I'd like to actually say something, but I'll keep it to the complaining about details. Remember when I made good videos? Remember that? Remember when I was good? I just feel like me making a video about yellow paint here, you know, I'm stuck. It's never gonna offer any broader critique. And now we pivot to about 8 minutes of broader critique. Here's the problem, actually, the actual problem. Just like one of those opinions is all you've got room for in a post online. And then it'll get shared around, removed of any context of your account, unless you're me. My posts are filled with incredible subtext and nuance. And I think that's probably the biggest problem with yellow paint. And you see it happen with all different game mechanics, all different games coming out. The big problem is that when you're looking at pictures of a game on social media, it sucks to play. This picture of breakable boxes sucks. It doesn't even do anything. And I just think all visual stimuli on the internet should be banned. But this happens with everything over and over again. A social media user points at some detail. It feels like maybe it might tell us something, but it doesn't. And then people all bicker about this detail, and that feels like it might tell us something, but it doesn't. And then like commentators who don't want to say anything point at the people bickering about the detail, and that feels like it might tell us something, but it doesn't. And then nothing changes, and that just keeps happening over and over again forever. Fuck the yellow paint. Ooh, see, I am mad enough. Actually, fuck off with the yellow paint. Like, maybe you have a genuine point to make, one way or the other, pro games or anti them, but even accepting to frame that discussion within the context of yellow paint, you've lost. You won't do anything. Actually, no, hang on, sorry. It will change one thing. In about 2 years' time, it'll be relatively unpopular for the visual indicators to be diegetically yellow. That's the best bit of the video, by the way. That's what everything's been building towards. No? Why do I fucking bother? It's not worth it, is it? This is just second screen entertainment. I bet none of that's even registered. You're just going, oh, he's still saying stuff, I guess. I'll look at my phone for a bit. Why do I even You know what? The problem is your fucking CinemaSins ass. I don't even blame the idiot YouTube content creators. I blame you. You disgust me. That should have been on the dramatic ending backdrop. I've done all this for you. And I could just keep doing examples and counter-examples of yellow paint arguments for 4 hours, and you'd like that more, wouldn't you? I'd get more views. That's the most successful content. Everything is factoids and tidbits and details and tropes and world building. Everything is meaningless detail forever. I could do it. The problem is, there's never been a good ladder climbing mechanic. The problem isn't that gamers are dumb. I think regardless of intelligence, it's about finding where you need to go. The fact that gamers are dumb is incidental. The problem is, people who made something have thought about the thing more than you have. The problem is, you're not free enough. Games should let you free climb everywhere, like the new Assassin's Creed games. Obviously, to finance that sort of ludicrous overinvestment on random little mechanics, they have to be selling something more than just the core game package. So all games should just be live service, open world, Ubisoft games. I'm sure no one would mind that. It'd solve everything. Just keep doing that. Just keep doing that forever. And you'd like it more. Content that barrages you with details, giving you the feeling of depth without giving you the opportunity to have any sort of deeper engagement or reflection. What about the human condition? What about structural forces. No thanks, I'll just watch an 8-hour lore video. You know, what about artistic intent or meaning? What about how the thing makes you feel? What about your feelings? Talk about your feelings.
No, sorry, this product failed my good tropes checklist, and it had a woman in it.
I actually love to see a little mistake or tick or detail that sticks out at you in a piece of content that shows you the human craft behind the art. But it occurs to me that for a lot of you, that sort of thing is a nuisance that's getting in the way of consuming a product. I was gonna do this whole video in subtext and nuance, but fuck it, right? You don't even know what that is. But it's not your fault, is it? You've been broken down by social media. Stories have been broken down by social media. All media criticism is dead or dying. But at least we have some memes. No one seems capable of criticism. No one is being financially compensated for treating games as art, but at least we have some side-by-side pictures of Aloy's face. Ironically, when you do this content, focusing on all little details, it bloats it. That's how you can get a 48-hour video essay talking about a video game. If you had an actual thought of what you were trying to say, you know, you should be able to boil it down to like 3 sentences max. Like, you know, this video, for example, is about how a granular approach to content creation and criticism lulls you, the audience, into being passive consumers instead of realizing your potential as agents of change. Now, it is embarrassing that I've said that out loud, but I feel like for a lot of you, you'd still be clueless if I hadn't. If you just float around looking at every little detail you can, never saying anything, you can get a lot more financially valuable content out of it. And it's just sort of how it is with online content. It's all about watch time, right? Whoever can churn out the most crap the fastest. I think a lot is lost to the time pressure. The discourse incentivizing the fastest take. Like, it takes me 1,000 tries at having an opinion before I land on one that I actually agree with. But I think you should. You should figure out what you want to say and say that. I think even if you don't have something to say, take your time and do it properly. You know, you can say anything you want on YouTube. It makes me sick, but it's not really just internet content and algorithms and the stuff that's easy to blame, is it? Because it's everywhere. It's like all stories now are all about tidbits. Stories are powerful, but I think everyone is stuck doing details, doing tropes, and we have the rise of world building. You know, I can free associate tidbits that sound good to me, but so what? Like, the broad strokes of a story can move you, but an imaginary fact just tells you an imaginary fact. I'm much more interested in narrative where it is smoke and mirrors, where the story only exists to tell the story, and outside of that, you just have to imagine. I really love stuff where everything within the story contributes to the story, and world building is like the opposite of economy of craft. You know, let's just throw all random crap everywhere. Like, ChatGPT is great for world building, pulling all half-remembered details from the past that sound sort of plausible but never add up to anything. And I think if any of your art you feel could be jeopardized by AI, you should just do something else. If you just make stuff that's good, you don't have anything to worry about. And I think actually all of this stuff shows a disrespect for the audience and the audience's imagination. Now, let's broaden out a bit. Really, even broader, yes, fuck you. We see this throughout media, an obsession with factoids, tidbits, details. Like when I had that video recognizing Jack Antonoff's song Stupid Tidbit Nitpicks video, the most worthwhile thing I've ever done, and I hate it, and I hate anyone who liked it. Just kidding, it's great to have you here, hit the bell. But people were sharing that tweet, people were reporting on that tweet. That's all you need for a news story now, is just a tweet or a TikTok to have happened somewhere. Which actually, you can find a few of them around. But I was giving interviews about that, and what everyone sharing that thing wanted to say was, I don't like Taylor Swift. But they were too cowardly and scared of the Swifties, which fair enough, right? If the Swifties find out that you don't like Taylor Swift, it's over for you. So these people didn't say that they didn't like Taylor Swift. Instead, they said, look at this video. But that doesn't quite work, does it? I wasn't saying I didn't like Taylor Swift. I was just recognizing Jack Antonoff songs. I wasn't saying I didn't like Taylor Swift. I hadn't landed on that opinion yet. Now, that's just an example, but I was Well, it's just using that because I'm too cowardly to say what I actually mean, which is this. In our politics, in our media, we used to tell big stories about how we were going to change the world, and then the world would change, and no one can really afford to do that anymore. So unable to tell stories that criticize power, we're instead performing the tidbits, staying to the safe little details that feel like they might tell us something, but they never do, and nothing ever changes. You know, people want change. People aren't happy with inequalities and corporate greed and climate change, right? Climate change is good. What about climate change? There's all-time non-response to that, just freaking out over tidbits. Like, climate change should be good, because we want change, and we can change. We have to change. We can't just settle for death, and we can't just make things worse. You know, we must construct a beautiful new world now if we want a future at all. Oh no, that seems a bit much. Can't we just find an example of a right-wing politician saying something right-wing? You know this racist guy? Yeah, he said something racist. Can't we just get mad about the tidbit of the day? Look at this. A girl made a TikTok. Everyone please get pissed off about this and move on. Now, I'm not saying that all media is evil or biased. Actually, all media is maybe codependent with evil. But my complaint is that all media is incredibly low quality. We live in a clickbait world, a tech bubble machine, a decaying reality with no meaning but money, and everything is a popularity contest and no one cares. I'm not trying to make everything about politics, you know, I'm just saying everything is storytelling. If I have a point here, it's probably less that I'm anti-tidbit and more that I'm pro-imagination. All of this is a failure of imagination and a lack of trust in the people to imagine. Everything is closed down to repeated details lifted from the past, and it's trapping us, and it's trapping the possibilities of what can be in content and also in the world. There's a future waiting to be born, and imagination will get us there. If you only take one thing away from this video, please let it be that I think yellow paint is always objectively good, and get mad about that in the comments, please. Thanks. Check out the website. There's the weekly member videos, which are this one, and this one, and this one will probably be of interest to you if you like this. And I've started doing some like topical, knee-jerk, freely available ones on top of that. So check it out, and thanks.